Hey folks, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be replacing the door weather stripping and seals around the window here for my 1988 Jeep Comanche. Now this should be a very similar process to pretty much the old XJ Cherokees from the 1990s, the late 80s, that sort of era. But anyway, stay tuned. In particular, looking at the truck, the parts that I'm going to be replacing is primarily like this exterior kind of window wipe seal. You can see it's just completely deteriorated from all the years. And also the weather stripping that goes around the door. That's completely, got a couple holes in it, as you can see here. And then I'm also going to be replacing the interior wiper and then also the glass channel run here. This is actually not the original glass channel run I have. The other ones was completely just destroyed, and so this is one I got from like an old Ford truck from a junkyard. But we're going to be replacing this with actual factory stuff today. But let me go and show you what parts I have. So as for parts, in order to replace this, probably the most challenging thing is finding out the source for it. So I got all these from a place called OC Auto Carpets. Now there was a bit of a delay. I think they redid the manufacturing or something like that. And so it took me like 6 months to get all this stuff. But anyways, I get it now. So got the exterior door seal and just all these other seals. We'll go through it, but like I said, I got these from OC Auto Carpets, and I guess you can see here Precision or whatever is the actual manufacturer. Well, it looks like it's made in USA. Now, in case you're wondering about how well this stuff's going to seal and how well it lines up, I actually did this already on my passenger side, and you can kind of get an idea about the quality for it and as to whether it's going to be good for your truck or not. And frankly, I've been impressed with it. I think it's good quality stuff, and it seems to fit reasonably well, and it seems to be very much factory-like. But let's go ahead and do this over on the driver's side. So the first thing I'm going to do is tackle this exterior window wipe. So what we'll do is we'll roll down the window. That gives us clearance, and now this exterior strip just kind of pulls up. Don't be afraid of breaking it. Of course, this one being stubborn, but well, there's part of that old stuff. Don't need it. Giving you guys a little insight. This is proving to be a little challenging for whatever reason. Passenger side was a lot easier. So all I'm doing right now is just prying this guy up. Usually they're not this stuck, but mine's being pretty challenging. There we go. Okay. Alright, so we got these clips, as you can see, that are holding it up. Oh, that's why these guys were kind of bent out. Okay. And then there is one more clip down here, so you gotta be careful when we're pulling it out. There's a clip that kind of runs in here a little bit, and so I think we gotta slide it out. Now, I'm trying to be careful with these clips so that I can reuse them, because I know that on my passenger side I had to reuse them. Because the other ones, the aftermarket, didn't quite fit right. Probably the only complaint I have. There we go. Okay. So that helps a little bit. So you can see that the little tab that goes right underneath the vent window area, it's just flat. So as long as you can get past this tab so that that doesn't hang up, then it'll just pop right out. Set that aside. At this point, we're going to go ahead and pull off this door panel. Start removing. There we go. Okay, well that wasn't fun, but as you can see, this guy just has a little bit of a spline on here, and it just kind of clips on there. Alright, I got the window handle off, and now I'm going to tackle this door handle. There are two screws underneath it. Pulls right out. The next thing we got to do is get to the door latch. There's, I think, 3 screws holding it in, and then it's got like a hinge over here. All right, we got those 3 screws out, and now this thing kind of just pivots. And there's kind of a clip here. Well, not really a clip, but just kind of wedged underneath there, so we'll pull it out. And then now we have the 2 rods that we need to disconnect. As you can kind of see here, there's a couple of rods that are holding everything together. Now these just unclip. Pull that back. And then this rod pulls out. Real nice. Pretty easy little retainer. And same one for the door. Open and close. Pop that guy off. The retainer, and then the rod pulls up. There we go. Just pushed it up with my screwdriver. And you can kind of see here the way these clips work is that the door rod kind of goes in through here and then curves up, and then it just gets clipped around by this little section. And so you just got to push that back from the rod, and then it will allow the rod to pull out, up, and then you can remove it. And here's the little pieces of material that are behind and holding it so it kind of pivots out. Got that. All right, now we've got all the clips, or now we got all the screws out, all the fasteners out of the door. And at this point, it just clips together with your automotive style clips. And now we've got all those guys free. The top of it just kind of hangs along a kind of a gutter here, and so the whole thing just should pull right up. And on this side, I think we have to kind of slide it out. There we go. Easy peasy. And so that you can see how it's held in, it's just got a nice piece of solid plastic that it hangs on this top strip, which is also part of our interior window wiper. And then we have a bunch of these clips around the perimeter that hold it in as well. And surprisingly, after all these years, this truck's like 32 years old, and I don't think any of these clips have ever been replaced, and I didn't break any. That's impressive. So we'll pull out the interior wiper strip. Okay, at this point, might be a little bit different for your Jeep because I've actually redone part of this before. So I have this glass channel run here. This is just kind of set in here. This is an old Ford glass channel run. It was in better shape than the thing I had here before, which was non-existent. But we got to peel that out. I think I'm going to try getting this top part out too. This top part of the seal, glass channel run, just pulls out as well. And this is all included in the kit that I got. Sort of also protrudes down with the glass. There's a kind of a strip inside the door that the rest of this rides on. Helps it keep aligned. And there you go. Got that out. Alright, and then now I'm pulling out my channel run here. Okay, at this point, because I've done this before on the passenger side, I saw what we had to do. And it was that we have to pull this little triangle window out. And the reason we have to do that is because we actually need to pull the glass out of the door. It won't come out in this current configuration, and I'll show you. Actually, the glass has a bolt down underneath that's holding it in. So what we'll do is, let me go ahead and peel off all this plastic here. That'll give us a start, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, with a little bit better lighting, now that you can see that, you can see there is kind of a through kind of stud that goes through the glass here. and there's a nut that holds it on. I'll just drop that guy. Now there's this kind of a weird compression washer here holding it on. Yeah, this was the nut that's holding it on. It was sitting in there in this orientation, and so it has this kind of a ridge here that helps get it all lined up. Huh. I'll be darned. This must be some sort of factory tag or something I just found in here. I don't know, that could be. Huh. Alright, well. Now, the reason we need to pull this glass all the way out is because you need to put the channel run in right here, and you can't really do that so easily with the glass in the way, which is why we're pulling it out. So what we're going to do next is pull out the vent window, or the little triangle window here. Mine's not vented. Alright, there are a couple, so what we're going to do, there's 2 screws up here. There's one here, another one's a little down here. That's right, so in addition to the 2 screws that are up here holding the triangle window in, there's also one that's further down here in this port that is holding the bottom of it in. So I got 2 10mm here, a wrench, and a socket. And now, I think we can pull the window out. There we go. Okay, and now, just because we do have the glass disconnected, we might as well pull it out. You see, it looks like I missed a spot when I was cleaning my windows. Alright, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and get everything cleaned up. You know, you probably don't really need to do this, but I'd like to have it clean just for peace of mind, and then we'll start reassembling everything with the good new weather stripping. Alright, we're turning our attention back to this little triangle piece window here. So I got to dig out the remains of the weather stripping. Got to kind of dig it out around these rivets here because the newer weather stripping actually uses those as well to stay in place. Alright, now comes the fun part. I'm starting to put all the weather stripping back together. So I've got this piece here that is going to go along the ridge, and this is going to be part of our glass channel run. Now, in order to figure out which side goes where, notice that we had to just pull out that little rivet slot, and you can see this also has a corresponding slot here in the channel run. You see it kind of just slides in there almost like a piece of wire conduit. Now, I didn't actually end up putting mine around that little rivet to hold it, but I figured it'll probably be secure enough. I can at least see it's lined up with the hole, so that's all that really matters, I think. And then, of course, the top as well has a nice little cut out angle here to go with the angle of everything else here, so that works out fine. Alright, now that we got this out of the way, let's go reinstall the glass. Got everything cleaned up as well. We'll go ahead and put our little corner window back in. Now, before we get all this stuff secure, I'm going to go ahead and install the rest of the channel run that goes along the top here. And I'm going to start by feeding it down to about where it needs to go. That guy just jams up into the corner. Now do bear in mind there's a corresponding channel down here that continues below into the door that I'm working the glass channel run into as well. It serves basically a nice rail for the glass to ride on. So that is something to note. When I was reinstalling the glass here, I made sure to keep this triangle window loose so that I could still rotate it a little bit that I needed so that I could get the glass lined up, because ideally when this is all bolted together, there's not enough space for that glass to move one way or the other. It's just kind of stuck in there and constrained. I'm gonna go ahead and reconnect that bolt down here at the bottom to put the glass back in, and we'll go ahead and resecure the screws that go into the triangle window. Weird looking lock washer, and then our little nut. Alright, now before I tighten up all the screws on here, I've got the panel reinstalled for the glass. Just make sure it rolls up nicely. Alright, I've got the brand new inside glass wiper seal. Sit down. Got that installed. Sits right nicely on the glass. Beautiful. Alright, now I'm going to attempt to install the exterior wiper seal. Now, last time I had a problem with this, in that it didn't quite go in quite right on the passenger side, and I had to reuse some of the old clips, but let's see if it works out better this time. Yep, again, I'm not really happy with these, so clips, great. Well, folks, unfortunately, I pulled a classic YouTube mistake and let the battery die on my camera before I finished the video, so we're kind of left with looking at the truck now that it's fully assembled. But putting the door back together was pretty much as simple as reversing the process of pulling it apart. Really not too much to it. But I did want to cover a little bit about how you take care of doing the weather stripping for that goes around the door. Now, this stuff is fortunately a bit simpler to access than any of the other weather stripping on the door, because what it is you have a couple of these body panels here inside the truck that really are just held together with a few screws. And you know, you can see a couple screws here and there. Allows you to take off this panel. I also need to take off this other front kick panel, and then I did end up having to take off this top panel or little strip as well in order to access all the weather stripping. But the rest of this stuff really just kind of slides in here, and I can kind of show you here real quick about what it looks like. You can see it just kind of sets in there, and in fact this stuff's kind of started to sit in place since it's been in there for a while now, but it just pulls right off, and then you just slide the new stuff on. Now, you will have to do some trimming because the weather strip that you get is actually a little bit longer, and so you'll have to put, and it's just basically a strip, so you'll have to have some point here where there's a gap, and you can see I've got a gap right here on the bottom. Now, I try to keep the gap in my weather strip the same place that it was from the factory, and also you don't necessarily want it to be up top, because that's, if you have a gap up top, you might get some rain or something like that inside the truck. So put it down towards the bottom and you should be good. And this stuff's pretty easy to cut. I just use a pair of heavy-duty scissors, and that seemed to work just fine. And of course, on my passenger side, I haven't fully finished putting all the panels back together, but you can see here the little gap that I have here on this side is a little bit of a different spot, and I didn't do this one quite as neat. But again, this stuff just, in order to remove it, you just pull it right up, and then you can see it just pulls up like that, and it just sits on this lip. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Well, folks, I hope this video helped you out. Thanks for watching, and until next time, drive safe.